be going on a circular orbit 100 kilometers above the moon's surface, but the lander module will have a different path, an elliptical path, which will be like as planned, should be between 30 kilometers near closest point to 100 kilometers, and like as it goes around this particular orbit, the soft landing will be the time, and time has already been decided as 23rd of August, and after all the checks been done, ISRO will go ahead for that. ISRO has been in each and every step has been very calculative and made sure that like the exact thrust has been given, the exact method has been given. In fact, in this particular one, the lander module was above the thrust module, the propulsion module, and after separation, it has to stabilize itself, and it's a kind of 3D stabilization because ISRO has to make sure that it does not spin out of control, and the actual way of landing will be vertical and in a slant position. All this will be calculated, and like from 5 days from now, they will go ahead with the landing process.
All right, so the actual countdown has finally begun today, or just this minute, if I may say. Here is India achieving a massive milestone when it comes to moon mission. Chandrayaan-3 has finally managed to separate the actual lander from the rover. Vikram 3 separates from the mothership itself, and now that heads towards the moon's surface. Nagarjun Dwarkanath is also joining us for more on that. Nagarjun, after that disappointing loss of communication that happened with Chandrayaan-2, Chandrayaan-3 has been on point by and large. We see that the fifth and final moon maneuver has completed, and now Vikram has separated from the mothership, and in about 5 days' time, soft landing is likely to take place. It will be attempted on the 23rd of August. That's another 5 days from now. How amazing is this feeling, and a big achievement indeed for India?
Well, that's absolutely true. In fact, it's a feeling that your own child has, you see them grow over and reach a successful stage. Because I was on the launch day in Sriharikota, like I saw the launch happen right in front of my eye. And today, you can imagine that the same thing that we saw live is reaching the moon surface that you wouldn't imagine in a layman's life. So it's quite exciting for us also here back home. The tracking center, the command center, ISRO headquarters is in Bengaluru. All positive notes as what we are saying. I just spoke to a few people inside ISRO headquarters. They are saying the mood is upbeat. It was a successful separation between the propulsion module as well as the lunar module. The lander has now completely separated by the with the mothership or the propulsion module. It's on the way to land on the lunar surface around 23rd August, around 5:45 or 5:35 p.m. in the evening, and all eyes will be for the next 5 days on that lander. Right now, it's still rotating or orbiting around the moon surface, and on the final day, it's going to move from horizontal direction to the vertical direction. That maneuver is pending, and initially the velocity will have to decrease before landing. This time around, they have made quite a number of changes from Chandrayaan-2 to Chandrayaan-3. The landing space itself has been widened. It's 4.5 kilometers in the width, length to 2.5 kilometer in the width. In this square box, the lander can land in any spot. Earlier in Chandrayaan-2, the spot was much smaller. Here they have put on a wider space for the lander to land. And second thing, 2 meters per second was the average velocity impact that they could take, and now they have increased. Even if the acceleration is at 3 meters per second, the rover or the lander can still withstand. And also all the data that they had in Chandrayaan-2 and what exactly the errors were caused, all of them have been addressed in Chandrayaan-3. So the ISRO team here in Bengaluru are quite hopeful that Chandrayaan-3, come what may, will land on August the 23rd on the surface of the moon, and it will be a big successful machine.
Absolutely. The mission has already by and large been successful, as Vikram has just separated from its mothership and is on its way to the moon's surface. In about 5 days' time, it's likely to touch down. Thank you very much, Nagarjun. I'm going to cut across to Pramod, who's with us and closely tracking this. Pramod, give us a breakdown in as simple terms as possible on what's the whole frenzy around Chandrayaan-3 landing on the moon. What exactly is the mission? It's going to be there for likely about 14 days is what we believe, and there's going to be some kind of, it's going to be on an expedition to try and find out what the moon looks like, taking pictures of the moon to try and find the soil composition, and if at all there could possibly be life on the moon. That's something that the rover will attempt to understand.
Nabila, for centuries, the moon has been a fascination for the people on Earth because it's the closest a satellite object to Earth, a spatial object. And the interesting factor is that there is a quite possible, like we cannot negate claiming there could not be any life form, but will that be a carbon-based life form or some other kind of life form is something only Chandrayaan-3 can say. And the very important part here is that, just like we mentioned earlier, several nations have done research on the moon. They have even a man has walked on moon, but the interesting factor is that Chandrayaan-1 was the one that confirmed the presence of water on the moon. And now, a lot of discussion, lot of think tanks are going ahead and trying to find out if the moon can be used as a pit stop for further more research, sending mission rockets from there to other places, because now we are discussing, the Earth is people are discussing about asteroid mining and colonization of various planets, be it Mars or anything. So this is where the moon plays a very important factor. But for ISRO has always been a big brother. When every other nation does it in a costly manner, in a coveted manner, ISRO has been a teacher. ISRO has been open to any kind of person with a scientific thought in a learning process. ISRO has done so far, and even various scientific communities believe that whatever research or ISRO finds on the moon, that data will be available for everybody. That will help in understanding the moon, because there are even when we spoke to Somnath earlier, he said that the orbiter and the propulsion module will be going around the moon because the moon's gravitational pull and the moon's electromagnetic pulse is entirely different. It's not exactly the same everywhere. It's kind of has a kind of wavy pattern. So all these things ISRO wants to go there and research. That will be definitely beneficial for the human population, and that's the reason, even though Lunar is racing with us to reach the moon, the actual entire world is looking to ISRO how it's going to do, because the plan of ISRO is to be cost effective, and if ISRO achieves, it will pave the way for other small nations as well to even dream of sending something to the moon. And that's the reason this mission is very important, Nabila.
All right. So how long will this experiment go on for? Is there a likelihood for it to go beyond the prescribed time? And Chandrayaan-2, we believe, even as much as people say it may have been a failure, what we know is that it had lost communication. So, of course, eventually they couldn't progress with the mission because communication was lost. But so far, Chandrayaan-3's communication with its rover and lander has been on point. Any word on how long will this expedition go on to?
Nabila, in scientific terms, it's not we would call it more like it was a hard landing, not a soft landing, because the Chandrayaan-2 orbiter is still functioning. It's sending back data. So that way, Chandrayaan-2 is still active. And that's the reason we are not sending an orbiter this time, only a propulsion module. Even this propulsion module is carrying a shape sensor on it to actually do research and collect data from the moon's orbit about the Earth. So that is also we are not wasting anyway. And the aspect here is that this particular lander and the rover will be functional for one lunar day, that is 14 days together. That is a period when it can use its solar panels and generate energy. That way it will be used, and the orbiter, the propulsion module, will be still functioning as a mode of communication between the lander and the space center, Deep Space Research Center of ISRO in Bengaluru. That way it will also be used. So the orbiter is going to be functional, Chandrayaan-2 is functional, and the lander and the rover will be functional for 14 days, Nabila.
All right, so this is really the penultimate step. If you really see, the final countdown actually begins now, and billions of dreams riding on the back of the Chandrayaan-3. Pramod, do you agree that people of India are very, very keenly watching this, and this really brings another feather on the hat of India's mission, and also give us a sense of Russia trying to race to the lunar surface with their lunar mission called Lunar. Is it true that they're going to be landing before us?
Well, Well, they have used an entirely different kind of rocket, and they're like the capacity of the lift and the propellant they are using is entirely like of a large amount. So that's the reason they are able to reach a little faster than us, and they are going to land as well. But that particular lander, that particular one, it's going to have entirely. Russia says it's going to have an entirely different set of research methods and everything. It has nothing to do with what ISRO is doing. But the interesting aspect is that ISRO is something. The Chandrayaan-3 is something the entire world is watching, because, like we said, the developed nations have an unfortunate habit of coveting the data and keeping it to themselves. But ISRO has broken that barrier. ISRO has been friendly to nations who want to do research. And ISRO, like, imagine using PSLV and GSLV, like sending satellites of other nations. That way, like even recently, ISRO went ahead and decided to go ahead and share information about satellite launch and such. So that way, ISRO has definitely been a big brother, and that's the reason. Even though Lunar is going to land, it's going to, like, if you ask me, it's going to be another day, another news. But ISRO's Chandrayaan launching, it's something like a dream of a billion people, like around the world, and everybody's going to keep watching. And not just that, they're all going to keep praying that this landing, this soft landing occurs, and that way ISRO paves a way to the moon and beyond.
Absolutely. Pramod, if you could really give us a sense of this very image that we're seeing on our screens here. It's shared by Team ISRO. The first image that comes in right after the Vikram lander has separated from the rover. This is the image that's been put out at 1:15 precisely by Team ISRO. Could you explain to us this image? What does it really signify? This is certainly a momentous occasion, undoubtedly, for the space agency and for India alike, as this is the third attempt, Chandrayaan-3, where the actual challenge for ISRO begins now, as it gets closer to the moon in about 5 days' time.
Nabila, I've been watching the exact scientists who've been behind ISRO, and one thing I've learned from them is that be it Chandrayaan, be it GSLV, be it PSLV, until the mission is over, they do not take any sort of rest. I've seen them work like a clockwork for 24/7, and I'm pretty sure that's what they are doing currently. And that's the reason we have a large success rate with all the missions. Chandrayaan-2 is not a complete failure. It is a partial success. Only the landing was a hard landing, and that's the reason we have full trust over whatever ISRO does. ISRO has this habit of teaching, learning from everything they do, and that's the reason. Even like after around August 5th, when there was the lunar insertion occurred, the first images from the moon were absolutely brilliant. Those were actually hasty images showing the surface of the moon. So much accuracy and how the moon surface looked. The actual moon surface is covered with craters because of it being repeatedly battered by meteoroids and asteroids. All those recorded, and those images and visuals have been passed on to Chandrayaan-3's module as well. That way the landing is going to occur. The brilliant part here is going to be how ISRO is calculatively going to use the reverse thruster technology to reduce the speed. Just like the scientists said earlier, the speed had the deceleration must be reduced, and that way the landing should occur. So that is where I'm pretty sure the scientists, even though everything has been done in a calculated manner, are going to have sleepless nights, because, like I said earlier, billions of people have kept their hope and dreams on them, and ISRO knows the weight. They are carrying that particular weight, and they are working towards it, Nabila.
All right, as we see, ISRO has put out that image there, that very special image of the Vikram lander separating from the rover, and that really signifies that this has been largely a successful mission for Chandrayaan-3 by and far. And now it will, either way, move towards the moon's surface, even if all the sensors and 2 of its engines do not work. Is that true, Pramod? All right, do stay with us. I'm going to quickly cut across to Nagarjun speaking to Rajiv Chandrasekhar. Listen in.
Develop, manufacture, manage these complex, multi-complexity projects of the kind that a space mission involves is certainly something that we should all be very proud of. And in a lot of ways, it is also a symbol of India's growing capability and capacity in these areas. We are the 5th largest economy in the world. We are the top 7 countries in terms of making aircraft carriers. We are the top 4 countries in terms of space. So we are clearly in the leadership as a nation, as an ecosystem of young Indians and of startups and large companies like ISRO in terms of shaping the future of tech, shaping technologies of the future. And I hope Chandrayaan-3 works out to be a very successful mission in terms of reaching the lunar surface.
Prime Minister had come for the Chandrayaan-2 landing to Bangalore. Chandrayaan-3 has been keenly watching, is what we are told. What's the mood among the top officials in Delhi?
No, the mood amongst the top of the government will be the same mood amongst every citizen of India. This is a project that every citizen looks forward to with hope and anticipation. And and it is certainly a project that fills every Indian with pride. Our Prime Minister certainly takes the responsibility and ownership and takes a lot of the credit for giving us all the confidence that we can create, build and execute these complex projects today almost at league with the other countries of the world.
आखिरी सवाल सर, आज सेपरेशन हुआ है, क्या लग रहा है सर आपके मन में, जो बड़ा मेनूवर्ता आज हुआ है?
देखिए, सेपरेशन हो गया है और जो हर भारतवासी के मन में है एक बहुत एक तरह से गौरव की एक फीलिंग है कि हम ऐसे देशों में से हैं जो 3-4 गिने चुने देश हैं जो ऐसे कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रोजेक्ट्स डिज़ाइन कर सकते हैं, लॉन्च कर सकते हैं और एग्जीक्यूट कर सकते हैं. तो मैं बहुत विश्वास के साथ कह सकता हूं कि ये भारत, जो नया भारत है पिछले 9 साल में बने हैं, ये आगे ही बढ़ेगा.
Thank you so much.
Joining us right now here.
All right, you had Rajiv Chandrasekhar, Union Minister, who speaks about India's prowess when it comes to space missions, and this is going to certainly boost India's image globally. As we know that there is immense lunar traffic, multiple countries attempting at moon missions. India has been one of the first to be attempting this Chandrayaan-1, 2 and 3. So far, the Indian space mission has been highly lauded globally. So as our reporters tell us very clearly, Chandrayaan-2 also wasn't a complete failure. It was it landed, but it was a hard crash landing. But Chandrayaan-3 by far has been on point. It's as per design, it's now very close to the moon's surface. In about 5 days' time, the rover will be landing on the moon. They're attempting a soft landing. And all right, and once it lands, it's going to be carrying out its experiments on understanding the surface of the moon, clicking, of course, pictures of the moon, what the moon really looks like up close, and understanding the soil composition, and like Pramod told us, to see if there is any kind of trace of life, of any kind of life that the moon holds. Pramod is with us for a little more. Pramod, tell us about the 3 payloads that the Chandrayaan-3 carries with it, and do break it down for us what it really means in this moon mission.
Well, the entire mission Chandrayaan-3 had one propulsion unit, which has now separated from the lander module. This is a module that is going to make the actual landing. A soft landing is what ISRO is going to go for. It almost has 6 different...
Right, stay with us. Jitendra Singh speaking to Aaj Tak.
लेकिन इससे ज़्यादा बधाइयाँ तो अब 23 तारीख को मिलेगी ना जितेंद्र जी?
जी हाँ, हमें पूरा विश्वास है 100% बल्कि 110%, और सारी दुनिया की निगाहें इस समय चंद्रयान पर है और 23 तारीख को लगभग सायंकाल 5:30-35 पर चंद्रयान की लैंडिंग भी उसी प्रकार से शेड्यूल की गई है.
तो आप लगातार उन वैज्ञानिकों से टच में हैं जो इस मिशन से जुड़े हुए हैं?
जी हाँ, बिल्कुल. और ये मिशन चूंकि श्रीहरिकोटा और इसरो की एक परंपरा है कि यदि कोई वहां से वैज्ञानिक या चेयरमैन अथवा कोई अधिकारी सेवा निवृत्त हो जाता है तो फिर भी वो उस मिशन से अपना संबंध नहीं तोड़ता. और एक बड़ी सुखद बात यह कि जितने हमारे पूर्व चेयरमैन हैं, डॉक्टर के राधाकृष्णन, डॉक्टर किरण कुमार, सभी लोग इसमें एकजुट होकर के इसका फॉलोअप भी कर रहे हैं, अपने इनपुट्स भी दे रहे हैं और इसकी मॉनिटरिंग भी कर रहे हैं.
और शुरुआत से ही लग रहा था कि ये मिशन सक्सेसफुल होगा, क्योंकि जिस तरीके से इसका प्रक्षेपण हुआ, अब तक जिस तरीके से ये आगे बढ़ा है, कामयाब रहा है, आज भी कामयाबी का एक स्टेप इसने हासिल किया. हमेशा से ही लग रहा था कि सब कुछ पॉजिटिव रहेगा जितेंद्र जी?
निश्चय, क्योंकि बहुत सारी इसमें इस तरह की भी कुछ एक इस तरह से भी कुछ एक चीजें विकसित की गई हैं जो शायद दूसरे देशों को की तरफ से नहीं हो पाई थी. और उस तरह से कहा जा सकता है कि एक तरह से ये एक मिशन कई और मिशन की तुलना में ज्यादा सुपीरियर भी रहा है। और ये बात इससे भी प्रमाणित होती है कि भले ही पहला मानव जो चांद की धरती पर उतरा था वो अमेरिका की तरफ से गए थे नील आर्मस्ट्रांग सन 1969 में, लेकिन ये चंद्रयान ही थी जो श्रृंखला का पहला हमारा चंद्रयान 1 था जो वहां से पानी अथवा जल के चित्र लेकर के आया। तो पहली बार उसने दुनिया को ये एहसास करवाया कि चंद्रमा पर पानी भी उपलब्ध है और कहीं ना कहीं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से मानव जीवन की संभावना भी हो सकती है। और ये चंद्रयान तीसरा जो हमारा गया है ये 23 तारीख को साउथ पोल पर लैंड होने वाला है, जहां पर के अनुमान ये है कि पानी के छोटे छोटे क्रेटर्स भी हैं, तो उसको लेकर के आगे के स्तर के प्रयोग करने में भी सुविधा रहेगी।
तो आप स्वयं जाएंगे बेंगलुरु और इसरो के वैज्ञानिकों को कॉन्ग्रेचुलेट करेंगे 23 तारीख को?
जी हाँ, वहाँ तो ये तो सारा एक तरह का परिवार है इसरो का। जैसे मैंने कहा यहाँ कोई सेवानिवृत्त नहीं होता, कोई ट्रांसफर नहीं होता, सारे अपना जीवन इसी में लगा देते हैं।
और जितेंद्र जी, जिस तरीके से अभी जो सैटेलाइट इमेजेस आई उसको देखकर किस तरीके का एहसास हुआ? क्योंकि ये इमेजेस कई सारे वैज्ञानिकों के लिए बहुत मायने रखती हैं, बहुत ही अहम इमेज है ये।
बिल्कुल ठीक कह रही हैं आप, ये न केवल भारत तक सीमित रहेंगी बल्कि सारे विश्व है, क्योंकि विश्व को भी जो इनपुट चंद्रयान के माध्यम से उपलब्ध हो रहे हैं वो नासा जैसी जो प्रीमियर एजेंसी है अमेरिका की उनके पास भी उपलब्ध नहीं थे। और इसीलिए बहुत ही दिलचस्पी और उत्सुकता के साथ सारे विश्व के वैज्ञानिक और आम जनता भी चंद्रयान पर निगाहें करें।
तो लगातार प्रधानमंत्री को भी अपडेट दिया जा रहा है इस बारे में, कहाँ तक Chandrayaan-3 पहुंचा है?
उनको सही बहुत रुचि है। मैं तो ये कहूँगा प्रधानमंत्री के प्रोत्साहन के कारण ही आज संभव हुआ है। जो प्रधानमंत्री जी ने आज से 3 वर्ष पूर्व अंतरिक्ष के विज्ञान को के विभाग को प्राइवेट पार्टिसिपेशन के लिए खोल दिया, वरना आपको याद होगा आज से 3 वर्ष पहले तक किसी मीडिया वाले को श्रीहरिकोटा के फाटक से अंदर झांकने तक की इजाजत नहीं थी। लेकिन आज ये आलम है कि जिस दिन ये लॉन्चिंग हुआ है उस दिन लगभग 1000 मीडिया पर्सन अंदर उस परिसर में मौजूद थे। और ये सब इसलिए संभव हुआ कि प्रधानमंत्री जी ने एक बहुत ही क्रांतिकारी निर्णय लेते हुए गुजरे वक्त के टैबूज को तोड़ करके एक बड़ा ही साहसी निर्णय लिया और पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टिसिपेशन के लिए बहुत ही हमारे पास इसरो में
23 तारीख की क्या तैयारी है जितेंद्र जी?
23 तारीख को इसकी जब लैंडिंग हो जाएगी उसके बाद ये काम उसके कुछ एक घंटे के बाद ये बाहर निकलेगा, धरती अपने चित्र लेगा, कुछ एक्सपेरिमेंट्स इंस्टीट्यूट वहां पे करेंगे। वो लैंडिंग के कुछ एक घंटे के बाद अगला क्रम शुरू होगा।
ठीक है, एक बार फिर से आपको अग्रिम बधाइयां।
उसमें जो एग्जैक्ट टाइमिंग है
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमसे बातचीत करने के लिए जितेंद्र सिंह जी, विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी मंत्री।
All right, I'm going to quickly cut across to K7, joining us on the line, who's Indian space scientist himself, very closely monitoring the Chandrayaan-3's progress. Mr. Sivan, a huge congratulations for so far the Chandrayaan-3 being successful and separating. The lander has finally separated from the rover. Rover now descending down towards the moon. It's looking very positive so far.
It's a very good event. We are very happy to see that it is a very critical event has happened smoothly without any hitch. This one, and now it is a next phase of operations will start for landing. This one.
Sir, you know, so far we are seeing all the bright side that it's managed to complete the 5th successful maneuver around the moon, and now it's going to be descending towards the moon. It's going to be touching the surface of the moon in about 5 days' time. But if you can see, Mr. Sivan, you've been the former chief of ISRO. You've known exactly what the issue was with Chandrayaan-2 was. With Chandrayaan-3, as per challenges, do you see anything, or so far it's been a smooth ride?
Actually, that is whatever mistakes happened in the Chandrayaan-2 have been corrected in Chandrayaan-3. Also, that additional design margins have been improved. Also, that wherever the redundancy is not there, now it's put it. That way, we have more confidence on Chandrayaan-3 to be successful.
Right. For just the layman, Mr. Sivan, if you could break it down for us, what exactly does Chandrayaan-3 aim to establish? While the rover lands on the moon, how long is that rover going to be there conducting its experiment and expedition? And what exactly is it aiming to find?
This once it is landing, it will be operating for 14 days, 14 Earth days. Is equal to 1 lunar day. And during that time, that it will do a lot of new scientific experiments. And being landing near the South Pole region, we are expecting some new science is going to come as outcome. That way, along with that, India will be acquiring a new technology for landing. So this is the type of advantages or milestone we will be able to achieve.
So if we're really looking at Chandrayaan-3 mission closely, then we're going to first of all find out if there could be any possible life on the moon, and even in terms of further scientific study on planets, etc., life apart from on Earth will be established, and this would be one of the bases for it.
Yes, we are not looking for any life existence and all, but at least a new findings will be. We are hoping that we will be getting a new findings because this is unexplored region. So we may get something new than what we are understanding till now about the moon. That way it will be beneficial, this mission. Okay.
So Chandrayaan-1 to Chandrayaan-3, could you give us a quick glimpse as to what the 3 moon missions of India have managed to find? We know what happened with Chandrayaan-2, 1 and 3. If you can tell us, give us a quick sense of what Chandrayaan-1 intended to, what Chandrayaan-1 found and Chandrayaan-3 is intending to find now.
So Chandrayaan-1 was actually an orbiter mission, and it found a new finding about the water on the moon. There's a breakthrough finding by Chandrayaan-1. And Chandrayaan-2 and Chandrayaan-3, their objectives are same. And Chandrayaan-3 actually is going to land that unexplored regions of the South Pole region. That way, it's something new findings is expected to come from this mission.
Right. Mr. Sivan, we have Pramod Madhav also joining us. Pramod, jump in. He's been tracking the developments with ISRO and Chandrayaan very closely. Pramod.
Sivan sir, congratulations. And about this particular mission, the lander alone is carrying 4 sensors. The rover is carrying 2 sensors. And like any particular reason, we are interested about the seismic activity on the moon surface, and what sort of elements are we trying to confirm that could be on the moon surface, sir?
No, that is, all the instruments are designed very carefully to find out that the new findings, if at all anything is there on the surface of the moon. So we are expecting that because it's an unexplored region, we are expecting some new findings which is expected to come from this mission. Okay.
Sivan, is it true that now that the lander has separated from the rover, even if the engine fails or if the sensors fail, it's likely to be a successful landing? It will land irrespective.
No, I cannot say like that. Yes, for any mission to be success, engine has to operate, sensors have to fail. Have to work. With the successful operation of the sensor and engine, only the things will happen. And only thing is here that we are added redundancy. That if one sensor failed, there is another sensor available. But we cannot say that without engine and without the sensor, the mission will be success. It's impossible. This one. That is, you are talking about the controllability and observability. So our observability is not there, mission is not there. So sensor has to be there. But only thing is we added the extra sensor so that we, in case one fails, something else will come and help that way. We cannot say that if everything is failing, still mission success. It's not possible.
Okay. Sivan sir, with the landing of Chandrayaan-3 and its success, how is it going to expand the research on space? How ISRO is going to go ahead with the research on the moon surface? And in the near future, what kind of more plans does ISRO have with the moon, sir?
Sir, we have to wait and see. Yes, we are going to an unexplored region. We do not know what are things available there. And by doing the science experiments only, we will understand what really will be there. And the new things, it will be explored, discovered after that only. So we have to wait for this experiment to happen.
Okay. So many countries are trying to, to land on the moon surface. Russia in the latest are racing to land on the moon before us. Do you want to comment on that?
No, that Russian mission is going on its own. Indian mission is on its own. We cannot compare to the two missions. So definitely they will have their own objectives and we have our own objectives. That way only we can say.
Absolutely, okay. Mr. Sivan, you are one of the men behind Chandrayaan-3. So far, it's been a great success. A big congratulations to you, and thank you very much for speaking to India today. All right, you see on our screens here, that's the first image that ISRO has released with the Vikram lander separating from the rover. The rover now is on its way. In about 5 days' time, it's likely to be touching the moon's surface. Its expedition will continue for at least 14 days, and India Today brings you every aspect of that story as India accomplishes another feather on its hat, another milestone. Stay with us. Slipping into a short break. We'll be right back with a lot more.
A viral video for 2 people to be arrested after 77 days. How did the situation spiral out in Haryana so dangerously out of control? Where was the police? Fauziya ji, I promised you ek din aapka beta aayega.
Yeah, the promise is fulfilled. Thankful to you.
Fitness certificate ke bagair bridge reopen karna, ye kiski jawabdehi sir? A 3-time MLA is beaten up in Imphal almost to death.
Till today, my tears can't stop. I'm eagerly waiting for my husband's recovery.
The beating heart of every story is on News Today with me, Rajdeep Sardesai, Monday to Friday, 9 p.m. only on India Today TV.
If you look the hindsight of it, it is very clear that the Congress government in Karnataka wants to please their ally, who is part of India, the so-called India, INDIA, DMK, and they have yielded to the pressure of DMK against the interest of the people of Karnataka. This is what is going to happen if INDA comes to power. So the interest of Karnataka will be jeopardized 100%, and people of Karnataka, more so Kaveri Basin people, will fight for it.
ಬೀಗ ನಮ್ಮ ತೆಗಿಯ ಬೀಗ ಬೊಮ್ಮಾಯಿಯವ್ರ ಕೈಲಿ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೈಲಿ ಬೀಗ ಇದೆ. ಬೊಮ್ಮಾಯಿಯವರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾನೂನು ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ರಾಜಕಾರಣ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ರಾಜಕಾರಣ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ನಾವು ರಾಜಕಾರಣ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಕೋರ್ಟು ಯಾರ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಈಗ ನೀರು, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡೋದೇ ಈಗ ಬೇಡ.
ನಿಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಳೆ ಕೊರತೆ ಆಗಿದೆ.
ನಾನು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಇಡೀ 30 ವರ್ಷ 40 ವರ್ಷ ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಹಾಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಈ ವರ್ಷನೇ ನಮಗೆ ಮಳೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ರೈತರು ನಾವು ಮತ್ತೆ ತಿಳಿಸಿದ್ದೀವಿ.
Net employee addition has dropped a combined 135% at TCS, Wipro and HCL Tech. This means where the companies had added 31,000 employees this quarter last year, this year they've seen a fall of nearly 11,000 employees. This is in line with the muted financial numbers shared by these companies. Akanksha Chaturvedi gets us a deep dive into this trend. A closer look. Akanksha?
That is right, Abha. Hiring across major Indian IT companies has dampened in Q1 FY24 as compared to the year-ago quarter. If we take a close look at the numbers, we see that TCS only added around 500 people to the company in Q1 FY24, while this number was over 28 times bigger last year. TCS added over 14,000 employees in Q1 FY23. At Wipro, this trend seems to have worsened. In Q1 FY24, Wipro's headcount actually reduced by around 8,000 employees, while in Q1 FY23, they had added over 15,000 people to the organization. HCL Tech was also in line with this trend. The company's headcount went down by over 2,500 people in Q1 FY24, whereas they had added around 2,100 people in the year-ago quarter. This slowdown is in line with the broader slowdown in the industry, which is caused by the cutbacks in IT and discretionary spending across the world.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
A very good afternoon. You're watching India Today. I'm Nabila Jamal. A huge mission that India has accomplished, a milestone. Chandrayaan-3 has managed to inch closer to the moon with the lander separating from the rover successfully. Taking you through all the updates here, the headlines first. India achieving that mega moon milestone as the lander Vikram separates from the mothership. ISRO shares the first image of mega milestone. Chandrayaan's next stop is the moon. Battle for Kaveri water boils yet again. Karnataka to release water to Tamil Nadu. DK Shivkumar admits insufficient water for Karnataka but guarantees water release to Tamil Nadu. Lokayukta raids across multiple Karnataka districts. Bengaluru officer has been caught taking 5 lakh bribe. Gold jewellery seized from Chitradurga engineer. PDP chief's no-holds-barred attack on Modi government. Listen, in fact, while speaking to India Today's Mashmi likens India to Pakistan and Syria, says BJP is pushing Hindu Rashtra and hatred.
What is happening in India? This is something that is happening in Syria, where people say Allahu Akbar and then kill. Here they say Jai Shri Ram and lynch people.
Gadar 2 breaks Pathan's record, becomes only Bollywood film to score 30 crores plus on its 6th day of release. All right, now the Indian Space Research Organization has achieved a new milestone. Vikram, the lander, and Pragyan, the rover, has managed to successfully separate from its propulsion system. Post-separation, landing module is set to descend to a slightly lower orbit tomorrow at 4 p.m. in a deboosting operation. Now, remember, Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft is set for a scheduled moon landing on the 23rd of August, in about 5 days from now, aiming to become the 4th nation to achieve this milestone after United States, Russia and China. Now, the Vikram lander has been named after Vikram Sarabhai, father of the Indian space program, and designed to function for at least 14 days on the moon. It will be engaged in exploring the lunar's South Pole, making India the first country to reach the South Pole if this is a successful mission. Pragyan rover is a 6-wheeled vehicle which has instruments configured with payloads that will roll out to conduct experiments on the moon's surface for about 14 days.
It's a very good event. We are very happy to see that it is a very critical event has happened smoothly without any hitch, this one. And now it is a next phase of operations will start for landing. So whatever that mistakes happen in the Chandrayaan-2 have been corrected in Chandrayaan-3. Also that additional design margins have been improved. Also that wherever the redundancy is not there, now it's put it. That way, we have more confidence on Chandrayaan-3 to be successful.
In a lot of ways, it is also a symbol of India's growing capability and capacity in these areas. We are the 5th largest economy in the world. We are the top 7 countries in terms of making aircraft carriers. We are the top 4 countries in terms of space. So we are clearly in the leadership as a nation, as an ecosystem of young Indians, of startups and large companies like ISRO in terms of shaping the future of tech, shaping technologies of the future. And I hope Chandrayaan-3 works out to be a very successful mission in terms of reaching the lunar surface.
It's a very good event. We are very happy to see that it is a very critical event has happened smoothly without any hitch, this one. And now it is a next phase of operations will start for landing. So whatever that mistakes happen in the Chandrayaan-2 have been corrected in Chandrayaan-3. Also, that additional design margins have been improved. Also, that wherever the redundancy is not there, now it's put it. That way, we have more confidence on Chandrayaan-3 to be successful.
All right, that was Siva, who's in fact the former chief of ISRO, explaining to us that the Chandrayaan-3 basically aims at finding what the moon's surface has to offer, including its soil composition, to see what exactly the moon even looks like. Photographs will be taken by that rover as well. The Pragyan rover, which is a 6-wheeled vehicle, will be on the surface of the moon, the South Pole, for about 14 days. This is a huge mission accomplished, at least so far, for Chandrayaan-3. The previous Chandrayaan-2, unfortunately, had a crash landing, but this time, Chandrayaan-3 is really aiming at a soft landing, and so far their communication with the lander and the rover for now have been intact. So in about 5 days' time, we can expect Chandrayaan-3, the mission, to successfully land on the moon. This is after much efforts. The Vikram lander has successfully separated from the spacecraft. And those are the images that you see. The first image that was in fact put out by ISRO itself. You see on the center of our screens that we're showing to you how the Vikram lander has separated from its rover, the Pragyan rover. The rover will now be inching closer to the moon. It will be lowering itself towards the surface of the moon, and 23rd of August is likely the time or likely the day that it will descend, that it will touch down. So it's hugely successful and a big feather on India's hat. This also makes India the 4th country after United States, Russia, China to be landing on the moon and also carrying out its mission. Of course, Russia at this point is also attempting to launch their own moon mission and racing to land in the moon even before India. But nonetheless, India's moon mission has been strategic and as per design has been successful. Now, Union Minister Jitendra Singh has spoken to India today. Here's what he said.
हमें पूरा विश्वास है 100% बल्कि 110% और सारी दुनिया की निगाहें इस समय चंद्रयान पर है और 23 तारीख को लगभग सायंकाल 5:30-35 पर चंद्रयान की लैंडिंग भी उसी प्रकार से शेड्यूल की गई है।
तो आप लगातार उन वैज्ञानिकों से टच में हैं जो इस मिशन से जुड़े हुए हैं?
जी हाँ बिल्कुल। और ये मिशन चूंकि श्रीहरिकोटा और इसरो की एक परंपरा है कि यदि कोई वहां से वैज्ञानिक या चेयरमैन अथवा कोई अधिकारी सेवानिवृत्त हो जाता है तो फिर भी वो उस मिशन से अपना संबंध नहीं तोड़ता। और एक बड़ी सुखद बात यह कि जितने हमारे पूर्व चेयरमैन हैं, डॉक्टर के राधाकृष्णन, डॉक्टर किरण कुमार, सभी लोग इसमें एकजुट होकर के इसका फॉलोअप भी कर रहे हैं, अपने अपने इनपुट्स भी दे रहे हैं और इसकी मॉनिटरिंग भी कर रहे हैं।
और शुरुआत से ही लग रहा था कि ये मिशन सक्सेसफुल होगा, क्योंकि जिस तरीके से इसका प्रक्षेपण हुआ, अब तक जिस तरीके से ये आगे बढ़ा है, कामयाब रहा है, आज भी कामयाबी का एक स्टेप इसने हासिल किया। हमेशा से ही लग रहा था कि सब कुछ पॉजिटिव रहेगा। जितेंद्र जी,
निश्चय, क्योंकि बहुत सारी इसमें इस तरह की भी कुछ एक इस तरह से भी कुछ एक चीजें विकसित की गई हैं जो शायद दूसरे देशों को की तरफ से नहीं हो पाई थी। और उस तरह से कहा जा सकता है कि एक तरह से ये एक मिशन कई और मिशन की तुलना में ज्यादा सुपीरियर भी रहा है।
All right, now let me give you a quick lowdown on what the Vikram lander is all about that carries the Pragyan rover on it. As it's successfully separated and as the Pragyan rover is now inching closer to the moon in 5 days' time, it should likely be landing on the moon. Here's a quick insight and understanding into what this mission is all about. First of all, Vikram lander is named after Vikram Sarabhai. As we know, Sarabhai is the father of the Indian space program, so this was decided to be named on him. Now, we know that this space mission that began about nearly 34 days ago, now in about 5 days' time will be landing on the moon as per planned. It's designed to stay on the moon for about 14 days to carry out its mission to understand what the moon's surface really looks like. Now, the number of sensors to ensure safe touchdown. It can generate about 938 watt power. It will be engaged in exploring Lunar's south pole. And let me be clear here, this will be the first country, India will be the first country to touch the moon's lunar south pole. Countries like the United States, China, and Russia that have already explored the moon in the past haven't really reached the South Pole as yet. India will be the first if Chandrayaan-3 is completely successful. All right, here's some more visuals, all introduced by ISRO itself that we're bringing to you. And that's exactly what the rover is going to be looking like. And that's basically, of course, a video that's now put out by ISRO showing how the rover will be landing on the moon and then will be maneuvering around the South Pole to do its expedition, carrying out its experiment on trying to find out the moon's soil composition. Will also be taking images of the moon, our very own images. There have been multiple images of the moon from various countries that have come out. India's mission will be, of course, personal to India. These images will be precious as it is India's moon mission that has been successful in bringing us back all that research material. Now, from 2008, when the first Chandrayaan mission was launched, to 2019, when Chandrayaan-2 took to the skies, our ISRO heroes have worked so hard, really, to ensure that our tryst with the moon has been a successful one. As we count down to Chandrayaan-3 now and its soft landing, here's a quick look at how the previous Chandrayaan missions really worked out. Have a look.
3, 2, 1.
The clock ticked, and at exactly 2:43 p.m. on 22nd July 2019, India took a giant leap to the moon. For the second time, Indian Space Research Organization created history by the successful launch of Chandrayaan-2.
L110 engine started. अभी अनाउंस किया गया कि L110 जो कि हमारा दूसरा मुख्य रॉकेट है उसका इग्निशन हो गया है, उसके दोनों इंजन प्रज्वलित हो गए हैं.
This was India's second mission to the moon after the successful voyage of Chandrayaan in 2008.
Ignition sequence normal and liftoff normal.
GSLV Mk3 blasted off to space carrying a Land Rover, orbiter and a lander with a speed of 11 kilometers per second from the Satish Dhawan Space Research Center in Sriharikota.
It is the beginning of a historical journey of India towards moon and to land at a place near South Pole to carry out scientific experiments to explore unexplored.
Within minutes, Chandrayaan-2 was successfully placed into the Earth's orbit. As the space vehicle beamed back a perfect report card, Indian space scientists at Mission Control erupted with joy.
7.4 kilometers and the velocity was nearly 140. So the Vikram lander has successfully completed the rough braking phase.
The mission was expected to take 48 days in total to land its rover Pragyan on the south pole of the moon, roughly on 14th September 2019. But then, on 10th September, days before the final landing on Moon, ISRO announced that it had lost contact with lander Vikram. ISRO scientists were disappointed. It was an emotional moment. Chandrayaan-2 suffered various delays and revisions a decade after the successful maiden Indian moon mission Chandrayaan-1. In October 2008, ISRO successfully launched Chandrayaan-1. On 22nd October 2008, Chandrayaan mission with a lunar orbiter and impactor was launched using PSLV-XL from Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota.
Ignition sequence normal and liftoff normal.
It was a big boost to Indian space exploration history. India researched and developed indigenous technology to explore the moon with Chandrayaan-1. 2 weeks after its launch, it was inserted into lunar orbit on 8th November 2008. On 14th November 2008, the Moon Impact Probe separated from the Chandrayaan orbiter and struck the South Pole in a controlled manner. India became the fourth country to place its flag insignia on the Moon, near the crater Shackleton. The location of impact was named Jawahar Point. Though Chandrayaan-1 was planned to survey the lunar surface for 2 years, but after a successful year of transmitting data and detecting presence of lunar water, it stopped communicating on 28 August 2009. 312 days of Chandrayaan-1 was a celebration of ISRO's hard work and indigenous technological advancement in space exploration. Nearly 7 years later, NASA, with a ground-based radar system, relocated Chandrayaan-1 in its lunar orbit. Today, its orbit varies between 150 and 270 kilometers in altitude every 2 years around the moon.
All right, this is another video that's now just been introduced by ISRO, basically graphically depicting how exactly the rover will be landing on the moon. It makes us so happy and proud to say that Chandrayaan-3's journey so far has been a success. At least in the next 5 days, it's likely that the Pragyan rover, that's precisely what it looks like, a 6-wheeled rover, will be landing on the moon's surface, will be there for about 14 days on the moon's surface, and this very rover will be clicking images of the moon. And like I did mention, there are several images of the moon clicked by various countries, including the United States, China, and Russia. 3 countries in the past, apart from India, who have already explored the moon. They have taken multiple photographs, but this will be personal to India's archive. Of course, it is India's mission indeed. And so far, the Chandrayaan-3 has managed to separate from, the rover has separated from the lander, and it's now on its way, descending towards the moon's surface. And this is what is depicted in this video here as well. That's the separation that happened in just about 20 minutes ago. And now the rover is descending towards the moon's surface, where it will be landing, taking photographs, understanding the soil composition of the moon, and in every way trying to establish what exactly does the moon's surface hold. This will be huge basis for future scientific experiments and space expeditions that India may venture into going forward. I'm going to quickly cut across to Shilpa Nair, who's also been tracking this Chandrayaan-3's India's moon mission, Chandrayaan-3, very closely. Shilpa, tell us more. The anticipation has been built. The countdown actually truly begins from now.
In fact, we are inching, closer towards the lunar surface. Chandrayaan-3 is inching closer. With each process, at each step, ISRO is, of course, successfully completing all the steps that is required for the big landing that has been scheduled on August 23rd. It will happen around 5:30 to 5:45 p.m. That is what ISRO scientists are telling us. But today, of course, a very important maneuver was performed by the ISRO scientists. That was, of course, the separation of the propulsion module and also the lander module. And that has also been successful. So tomorrow, they will be lowering the orbit of the lander module. This is a deboosting exercise that they undertake, and that is scheduled for tomorrow. But the propulsion module will continue to orbit around the moon, and this will, of course, conduct various studies, for example, studying about the Earth's atmosphere, etc. So that will continue. It will continue to orbit for several months and years. That is what ISRO has said. But definitely, every step through the way, ISRO is making sure that nothing goes wrong, and it is going as per the plan. And the next big moment, of course, will be August 23rd, when Chandrayaan-3 finally makes a landing on the lunar surface.
All right, Shilpa, stay with us. I'm going to quickly cut across to Pramod Madhav as well, joining us. Pramod, as we know that the separation has been successful so far, and tomorrow will be the deboosting process. Give us a sense at 4 p.m. tomorrow, what exactly is going to happen when we believe the rover is going to be lowering its orbit?
Well, Nabila, now what will happen is that they will have another kind of a reduction of the orbit by which the actual propulsion module will be circling in a different orbit, and the actual landing module will have a different elliptical orbit with, as per the schematics from ISRO, its closest point to the moon surface would be 30 kilometers and its farthest point will be 100 kilometers. This is what they need to achieve, and that process will initiate from tomorrow onwards, while the propulsion orbit will be in a circular orbit around the moon, entirely different ones and entirely different distance from the moon surface. This is required to exactly reduce the actual distance by which from that sphere distance later on 23rd the lander will be brought down to the moon surface in the process of soft landing, Nabila.
All right, so it's certainly something that India takes immense pride in. What we know of that ISRO has been working tirelessly for 34 days that this has been on the mission that was launched, and they've been very closely monitoring it. But the actual challenge for them begins now. What we know, Pramod, is that the next 5 days is going to be very crucial for ISRO as they maneuver the movements of the rover.
It absolutely is, because the propulsion module, the lander module and the rover all have sensors on it, and like Dr. Sivan said, each and every sensor would be working on its own. For example, the propulsion module shape sensor had already initiated its own work, that is to actually monitor certain activities of the Earth, how Earth acts, as it is the only planet known to humankind with life form on it. That's the reason there is a separate shape sensor on the propulsion module itself. The lander, however, will carry 4 sensors on its own, including a seismic activity sensing sensor and various elements detecting sensor. And the lander, it carries 2 separate sensors on its own about researching about the ions on the surface of the moon, because the moon does not have an atmosphere like Earth. It does not have a protective layer like an ozone layer or such, and it's directly in contact with the space. These sensors from the surface of the moon would provide accurate data, and that's the reason all these sensors have to be during soft landing process it should not get damaged. That's the reason ISRO scientists will be having sleepless nights for the whole process to make sure that the mission is this time a complete success, Nabila.
Absolutely. We're just praying that Chandrayaan-3 is an absolute success, and as per plan will be soft landing on the moon in about 5 days' time. Of course, India today has been on point with every aspect of the Chandrayaan-3's journey. We're going to continue our rolling coverage right after a short break. Until then, I'm going to try and explore the moon that I'm on. Stay with us.
politics, everyone has an opinion. But I have the data. Whose stock is rising? Whose graph is falling? Track India's political stock exchange. Unmatched, unmissable data analytics. The only show on news TV where numbers do the talking. India's most credible poll tracker. The Political Stock Exchange with Rahul Kamal, only on India Today.
If you look the hindsight of it, it is very clear that the Congress government in Karnataka wants to please their ally, who is part of India, the so-called India, INDIA, DMK, and they have yielded to the pressure of DMK against the interest of the people of Karnataka. This is what is going to happen if INDA comes to power. So the interest of Karnataka will be jeopardized 100%, and people of Karnataka, more so Kaveri Basin people, will fight for it.
ರೈತರು ನಮ್ಮ ರೈತರು ಯಾಕೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟರು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಬೀಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೈಯ ಬೀಗ ಬೊಮ್ಮಾಯಿಯವ್ರ ಕೈಲಿ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೈಲಿ ಬೀಗ ಇದೆ. ಬೊಮ್ಮಾಯಿಯವರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾನೂನು ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ರಾಜಕಾರಣ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ರಾಜಕಾರಣ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ನಾವು ರಾಜಕಾರಣ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಕೋರ್ಟು ಯಾರ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಈಗ ನೀರು, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡೋದು ಈಗ ಬೇಡ.
ನಿಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಳೆ ಕೊರತೆ ಆಗಿದೆ.
ನಾನು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಇಡೀ 30 ವರ್ಷ 40 ವರ್ಷ ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಹಾಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಈ ವರ್ಷನೇ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಮಳೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ರೈತರು ನಾವು ಮತ್ತೆ ತಿಳಿಸಿದ್ದೀವಿ.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
This shocking video from Mumbai's Bandra Terminus railway station is doing the rounds on social media. Alleged members of a right-wing outfit can be seen hurling abuses as well as throwing punches and kicks at a Muslim boy, accusing him of love jihad. The victim, who is a minor, was accompanying a minor Hindu girl, according to police sources, when he was attacked. As per sources, a kidnapping case was registered by parents of the girl at Ambarnath police station in Thane as the girl went missing. In the video, around 10 people can be seen beating the boy while chanting Jai Shri Ram and Vande Mataram. And a policeman remains mute spectator while the assault takes place. According to police sources, the incident took place on July the 21st and the video surfaced on social media on the 14th of August. The viral video has drawn sharp reactions from political leaders.
As long as every citizen of Mumbai, every citizen of Maharashtra and India feels safe, that is our goal. And for that to happen, a proper investigation will take place, and I'm sure that law will take its course.
AIMIM leader Waris Pathan has demanded a probe into the matter.
वहां पर पुलिस खड़ा हुआ है, आरपीएफ का, देख रहा है, कोई एक्शन नहीं लिया जा रहा है, उसको मारते हुए लेके जा रहे हैं, जेएसआर के नारे लगाए जा रहे हैं, उनको बोल रहे हैं कि ये इस लड़की को लेकर आ गया था। अरे ये क्या हो रहा है हमारे शहर में?
The MCP has called it unfortunate.
होम मिनिस्ट्री has completely failed this state. मैंने पहली बार नहीं बहुत बार बोल चुकी हूँ कि होम मिनिस्ट्री जवाब दे, क्योंकि जिस तरह से क्राइम महाराष्ट्र में बढ़ रहा है, आप नासिक देखिए, आप पूना देखिए, और मुझे अमित शाह जी से विनती है कि उन्होंने महाराष्ट्र का भी मणिपुर और हरियाणा के साथ रिव्यू लेना चाहिए।
The Muslim boy was arrested by the police and handed over to the Ambarnath police, after which he was produced in a juvenile justice court.
Welcome back. Well, India's third mission to the moon has been largely successful. Chandrayaan-3 has managed to separate itself. The lander has separated from the rover. The rover is now descending towards the moon. Tomorrow will be the deboosting process, where the rover will lower its orbit. A quick look at what the rover is all about. It's a six-wheeled vehicle. This is precisely what it looks like. And from what we know, the Pragyan rover has instruments that's configured with payloads, and that weighs about 26 kgs. It will be conducting experiments on the moon for about 14 days' time. This is one lunar day, which is 14 days. And as we know, the experiments will include extensively what the moon's surface really looks like. And the big challenge now for ISRO will, of course, be to find a landing spot. India Today is on its rolling coverage. We're, of course, tracking every development of Chandrayaan-3. Let me cut across to Pramod Madhav, who joins us for more on that. Pramod, ISRO putting out that message there. Thanks for the ride, mate, as the Pragyan rover separates from the Vikram lander. So it's been a rather successful journey for 34 days that the Chandrayaan-3 has managed to achieve. Tell us more about the deboosting process, as the rover will be lowering its orbit tomorrow, 4 p.m.
Surely it's a very interesting way ISRO is showing how the entire journey has been. Now the propulsion module has done its job. The propulsion module is going to continue to orbit the moon. This is going to be the third orbiting object from India alone to be on the moon. Chandrayaan-1, Chandrayaan-2's orbiter, and now we have the propulsion module, which will continue with its research on its own, and it will be powered by the sun and the propellant in it. So that way this particular mission's part is successful. Now coming to the deboosting method is one. Earlier from Earth's surface we had the acceleration, increase of orbit, and on the moon's surface, around the moon's orbit, there was a deceleration by which the distance to the moon was decreased. Now what they're going to do is that the propulsion module is going to go around in a fixed orbit while the orbit, the lander module, that will have an elliptical orbit, which means one part of that the elliptical path which will be closer to the moon's surface, the other one a little longer. We expect it to be 30 kilometers to 100 meters. That way it will go ahead, and a couple of rounds will be occurring by which ISRO will be conducting pre-launch tests on it to make sure that all sensors and everything is working fine, by which the lander module will be ready for 23rd.
All right, so 23rd of August is likely the day, the D-Day, when the Chandrayaan-3, the Pragyan rover will likely be landing. So I'd like to repeat myself, the real task right now for the rover will be to find a landing spot. ISRO has been very closely monitoring every development as all the sensors are active, communication is thorough. Let me cut across to all the reactions that are pouring in now as the anticipation builds up. Listen in.
हमें पूरा विश्वास है 100% बल्कि 110%, और सारी दुनिया की निगाहें इस समय चंद्रयान पर है और 23 तारीख को लगभग सायंकाल 5:30-35 पर चंद्रयान की लैंडिंग भी उसी प्रकार से शेड्यूल की गई है।
तो आप लगातार उन वैज्ञानिकों से टच में हैं जो इस मिशन से जुड़े हुए हैं?
जी हाँ बिल्कुल। और ये मिशन चूंकि श्रीहरिकोटा और इसरो की एक परंपरा है कि यदि कोई वहां से वैज्ञानिक या चेयरमैन अथवा कोई अधिकारी सेवा निवृत्त हो जाता है तो फिर भी वो उस मिशन से अपना संबंध नहीं तोड़ता। और एक बड़ी सुखद बात यह कि जितने हमारे पूर्व चेयरमैन हैं, डॉक्टर के राधाकृष्णन, डॉक्टर किरण कुमार, सभी लोग इसमें एकजुट होकर के इसका फॉलोअप भी कर रहे हैं, अपने अपने इनपुट्स भी दे रहे हैं और इसकी मॉनिटरिंग भी कर रहे हैं।
और शुरुआत से ही लग रहा था कि ये मिशन सक्सेसफुल होगा, क्योंकि जिस तरीके से इसका प्रक्षेपण हुआ, अब तक जिस तरीके से ये आगे बढ़ा है, कामयाब रहा है, आज भी कामयाबी का एक स्टेप इसने हासिल किया। हमेशा से ही लग रहा था कि सब कुछ पॉजिटिव रहेगा। जितेंद्र जी,
निश्चय, क्योंकि बहुत सारी इसमें इस तरह की भी कुछ एक इस तरह से भी कुछ एक चीजें विकसित की गई हैं जो शायद दूसरे देशों को की तरफ से नहीं हो पाई थी, और उस तरह से कहा जा सकता है कि एक तरह से ये एक मिशन कई और मिशन की तुलना में ज्यादा सुपीरियर भी रहा है।
In a lot of ways, it is also a symbol of India's growing capability and capacity in these areas. We are the 5th largest economy in the world. We are the top 7 countries in terms of making aircraft carriers. We are the top 4 countries in terms of space. So we are clearly in the leadership as a nation, as an ecosystem of young Indians, of startups and large companies like ISRO, in terms of shaping the future of tech, shaping technologies of the future. And I hope Chandrayaan-3 works out to be a very successful mission in terms of reaching the lunar surface.
It's a very good event. We are very happy to see that it is a very critical event has happened smoothly without any hitch, this one. And now it is a next phase of operations will start for landing. So whatever that mistakes happened in the Chandrayaan-2 have been corrected in Chandrayaan-3. Also, that additional design margins have been improved. Also, that wherever the redundancy is not there, now it's put it. That way, we have more confidence on Chandrayaan-3 to be successful. This once it is landing, it will be operating for 14 days, 14 Earth days. Is equal to 1 lunar day. And during that time, that we will do a lot of new scientific experiments. And being landing near the South Pole region, we are expecting some new science is going to come as outcome. That way, along with that, India will be acquiring a new technology for landing. So this is the type of advantages or milestone we will be able to achieve.
All right, I'm going to cut across now to Pramod, who is bringing us a lot of aspects of this Chandrayaan moon mission. Pramod, the countdown truly begins now as the rover now starts descending towards the moon. So this is really the last and final lap, or rather the last leg. Give us a sense on where exactly the rover is likely to land. Is this now going to be the real mission for ISRO to find a landing spot?
Well, Nabila, there have been several aspects of the mission and all have been successful so far. The next one is going to be the deboosting, that is tomorrow. And after that is where the real challenge is going to be. I'm calling it as a real challenge because every other aspect ISRO has already succeeded. So this is one part where ISRO wants to prove the technology demonstration capability of ISRO. And this is where it's going to be very interesting because last time, even Somnath very clearly mentioned, there was an accumulation of error because the spin went a bit out of control and the speed was a little higher, and there is always a lag between communication because of the distance, for to and fro from Earth, the communication base in Bengaluru. So what happened is that the lander, the actual landing space was given to be nearly 500 meters square. So that turned out to be an issue because the lander was trying to reach the spot without correcting the prior errors. Because of that, it lost the height, the altitude, and it unfortunately went in for a hard landing. But this time, keeping all those in mind, the lander has been given more power to actually find a zone on its own. The actual landing space has been increased to a rectangle, 4.5 to 2.5 kilometers, anywhere in that spot. And this particular lander also has accurate images. Earlier, the image has to be recorded and then decided where the lander must land on. But here, Chandrayaan-2 is providing those informations day after day. So that is also being read by the lander. And this lander module, all it has to do is avoid any object that is 30 centimeters tall and make sure that it lands on a proper area. Yes, it will have to, and it has also been given course correction decision also, so that it will avoid any kind of crater and it will land on the surface in a soft landing method.
Yeah. Pramod, stay with us. I'm going to quickly cut across also to my colleague Shivarur. He gives us a quick explanation on the role of the rover and the lander and the spacecraft and what exactly has been the difference between the Chandrayaan-2 mission to the Chandrayaan-3.
It's the pride of the Indian space program and the most ambitious space mission ever embarked upon by India. Much to be proud of as far as the Chandrayaan-3 is concerned. This space mission is a follow-up to 2019's Chandrayaan-2, the rocket that's going to be taking the Chandrayaan-3 into space and towards the moon, of course, is India's very powerful GSLV Mark III rocket. The total cost of this program, the Chandrayaan-3, is about 615 crore, which might sound like a lot, but compare it with similar missions by other countries and it's absolutely nothing. Compares very, very favorably, making it one of the most economical space missions of its kind. Now, 3,900 kilograms is the net weight of the spacecraft, the Chandrayaan-3, and it carries up to 7 payloads. Now, the Chandrayaan-3 program is going to be very busy after blast-off. There's much to do on the journey to the moon and also once it reaches there. But broadly speaking, the three main mission objectives include: one, of course, demonstrate a safe and soft landing on the lunar surface. The second, of course, is to demonstrate a rover roving on the moon. That rover will, of course, come out from the lander vehicle. And finally, to conduct in situ experiments on the lunar surface. So these are the three basic mission objectives of Chandrayaan-3. There's a good reason why the Chandrayaan-3 program is aiming for the moon's south pole. Never before done as far as a moon mission is concerned. And here are some of the key reasons for that. Number one, the south pole of the moon offers an undisturbed record of space's origins. Now, this is very essential to some of the experiments that will be conducted. Reason number two, it is an untapped source of essential resources, which could mean something for humankind's future. It is said to hold ice molecules in substantial amounts, very crucial to the in situ experiments that will be conducted by Chandrayaan-3. The craters are cold traps and could contain certain fossil records, which of course will be of great interest to research and scientists. It's got a different geology than equatorial origin, which of course is important because a large part of the equator, which has seen many moon missions before, has been quite extensively studied. This will be a rare one to the moon's south pole. So many, many new things to look out for.
So India Today spoke to Dr. Amitabh Ghosh, who is a space scientist working in NASA Mars missions all the way since 1997. Let's take a quick listen to this exclusive conversation he's had with my colleague Akshita.
As we count down to the soft landing on the moon by Chandrayaan-3, we've been getting you a number of experts' voices. And here on India Today, it's my pleasure to be joined by NASA scientist who's also a part of the Mars rover mission, Dr. Amitabh Ghosh. Dr. Ghosh, thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us here on India Today. Here in India, we've all got our fingers crossed, sir, for Chandrayaan-3's safe, soft landing on the moon. It is hugely challenging and it's going to be a historic mission for India, and one I'm sure that the world is also watching out for. But as someone, sir, who tracks space journeys so closely, you know the technicality of what's involved in a soft landing on the moon. How challenging really is this mission?
Well, it is a very challenging. Soft landing is very difficult. See, for the Mars missions, we call it 7 minutes of terror. The battle here is you have to slow the spacecraft down from a very high velocity to something where it can survive, the delicate electronics can survive the landing. So for the Apollo mission, I think it was like the velocity was a few feet per second. So here, that is the challenge. Imagine you're dropping a suitcase from a building, and then when it touches the ground, if it's above a certain velocity, all the camera inside that suitcase will break. So it's a very challenging thing, and this is done mostly. It's an automated thing. You can have a response system, but you cannot manually change a lot of parameters during the descent if something was off. So it is reasonably challenging. So of course it's a hard thing to do.
I'm sure you saw what happened with Chandrayaan-2, which is that it very successfully reached to the moon, which is why we don't really call it a failure here. It was partially a success, partially a failure, because only the soft landing, Dr. Ghosh, wasn't accomplished.
Right.
Do you believe that, whatever went wrong there has been fixed in this particular case in Chandrayaan-3?
It's very difficult to say that. See here the game is, if you're 99% successful and 1% not successful, you don't get the data, right? So it kind of has to be 100% successful. So whether the problems have been fixed, it is like if your car was not working and you took it to the garage, and you hope that the problems are addressed.
Sure.
And it's a little more difficult in the garage because you are into this unknown parameter set. So you don't know a lot of parameters, right? So so the reason these spacecraft missions are so hard, that you have to make a very judicious choice of parameters, and then if it was outside that envelope, you have to have an automated system which corrects and still keeps the spacecraft safe. So I would assume that things have been taken care of, but there is no way to 100% know, and particularly being outside the mission team, right?
Understandable. But like I said, we're keeping our fingers crossed. Dr. Ghosh, there's a lot of focus right now on where Chandrayaan-3 is going to land, which is the south pole of the moon. Why is that important? Why is that location something that so much is being spoken of?
So, we are in a very different era of space exploration. Neil Armstrong went to the moon as an explorer. And right now, the world is going back to the moon, which includes India, which includes NASA, which includes China, to not just visit. They're sending astronauts back to actually set up a base. And for humans to stay. So what would you need in a base? You would need what we call in situ resources. So you would need, for humans, you need water, oxygen, and for the return journey, you need to manufacture rocket fuel. All this can happen if water can be successfully extracted. The South Pole has some craters which are permanently shaded. That is, they never see sunlight. And so those craters have ice in them. So the thought is somehow if you could extract that ice and extract water, and from that water get oxygen and water for human use, and manufacture rocket fuel, then you have a standing chance. So that is why everybody is fixating on the South Pole and the ice.
There's a lot of competition also over who gets to the moon first, who's been to the moon and all of that. I'm sure you're aware of Russia also sending across their own mission, Lunar, to the moon. There's a lot of talk about who will get there first. Do you think it really matters, Dr. Ghosh?
It does not matter. It does not matter. And the competition is all in the mind of the media. So imagine, I think Lunar 25 probably started development in 2012 or 11. And Chandrayaan started development maybe, I don't know, 2-3 years ago at least.
Yes.
So, and on that day, do you think both the scientists on both these teams knew that the other person is also going and we are going to land the same day and we're going to beat them? It is not possible. You know, these things take a lot of time, resources, and then money, right? So there's a budget process. You know, nobody can tell and plan this. And why would you compete? They're going to a separate place. It's not like they have to land in the same spot. So while it makes for an interesting, I don't know, TV bite, but it is not a competition, I think.
Well, you know, whichever way it goes, whether we're first or second, it doesn't matter. What matters is making that soft landing on the moon. In course of India's space journey, Dr. Ghosh, how do you see this Chandrayaan-3 and the entire mission being really a monumental moment in our space journey and in our growth towards the next mission?
Right, it's an incredible step. See, if you're able to soft land on the moon, you can soft land perhaps on Mars. You can go to an asteroid and soft land there. It brings in a whole different level of capability. With the orbiter, you're studying the whole planet or the moon from an altitude. Here, you know, like at NASA, we have rovers on the ground and we have mass spectrometers, you know, which kind of can measure composition to the 1/1,000,000th part, not only the element, but also the isotopes of the elements. So you can do all sorts of things once you're it throws open a whole new capability, which India, I'm sure, is going to use in future.
Very interesting. It's been wonderful chatting with you, Dr. Ghosh, and I hope that the next time we have this conversation, it will be once the soft landing has been completed successfully by ISRO. But thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us here on India Today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure.
All right, a real encouraging conversation there with ISRO, with the NASA scientist. Certainly what we see here is that India has now gotten into the big league of nations that have managed to successfully venture into the moon. In another 5 days' time, hopefully the rover will